When developers start learning backend development or security, they quickly run into a bunch of terms like JWT, OAuth, API keys, Bearer tokens, sessions, OpenID Connect, and SSO. And for many people, all of it feels mixed together, but these technologies are not doing the same job. Some are responsible for identifying users, some manage login state. Others define how applications communicate securely, and some are simply token structures. So instead of trying to memorize every definition separately, the easiest way to understand authentication is to look at how these solutions appeared over time. The early days, basic authentication. One of the earliest authentication methods used on the web was basic authentication. The idea was very straightforward. Every request sent to the server included a username and password. Those credentials were attached inside the HTTP authorization header. Usually, the values were encoded using base64 before being transmitted. But here's the important detail. Base64 doesn't actually secure anything. So if someone intercepts the request and HTTPS is missing, the credentials can easily be decoded. That's why basic authentication became known as simple but unsafe. Improving security with digest authentication. To solve that problem, digest authentication was introduced. Instead of repeatedly sending the real password over the network, the server first generates a challenge. The client uses that challenge together with the password to create a hash value. That hashed result is then sent back to the server. Session-based authentication. As traditional websites became popular, session authentication became the standard solution. A user signs in successfully, the server creates a session, stores it somewhere on the backend, and sends a session identifier back to the browser. Normally this happens using cookies. From that point on, the browser automatically includes the cookie in future requests. But there was a scalability issue. The server now had to keep track of session data for every active user. API keys. One simple stateless approach was the API key. An API key is basically a unique identifier assigned to an account. This approach became very common in payment gateways, maps services, and weather APIs. Bearer token authentication. As APIs, mobile apps, and microservices became more common, bearer token authentication became widely adopted. The concept is simple. If you possess the token, the server assumes you are allowed to access the resource. It's like a digital pass. Understanding JWTs. Now let's clear up a misconception. JWT or JSON Web Token is not an authentication system. It's a structured format. A JWT contains data in JSON form, signed digitally. The server can often validate requests without constantly querying the database. Access tokens and refresh tokens. Access tokens are short-lived, while refresh tokens are used to obtain new ones after expiration. OAuth 2.0. OAuth is mainly focused on authorization. It allows one application to access resources from another service on behalf of a user. OpenID Connect. OpenID Connect extends OAuth 2.0 by adding an identity layer, introducing ID tokens that contain verified user information. Single sign-on SSO. The goal is convenience. A user logs in once and automatically gains access to multiple connected systems. Conclusion. Once you understand the evolution behind them, the entire picture becomes much clearer. We moved from raw credentials to identity platforms. Understanding how these pieces connect is what helps developers build authentication systems that are secure, scalable, and practical.